There is a war happening on your wrist as I'm talking right now, guys, and you probably don't even know that you are losing it. In this video, I will review 5 watch brands that are handing you back the perfect illusion of value by taking your money and putting it into fancy marketing budgets, and then naming 5 that give you real and valuable timepieces. As a proud Swiss and watchmaking enthusiast, let me tell you, we take pride in our watchmaking history and savoir-faire. I've decided it's now time to share some secrets and honest reviews on certain watches. If you have ever spent serious money on a watch, you need to watch this until the end, because I can guarantee you will be surprised. Alright, let's get started. Starting at number 10 on the list, Fossil Group. Walk into any department store and count the brands on display. Fossil, Skagen, Misfit, Relic, Zodiac in some markets. Different names, different logos, different price tags, same parent company, often the same internal components. So basically, Fossil Group floods the market with distinct looking brands so that no matter which shelf you go toward, the money flows to the same place. Now here is where the numbers get uncomfortable. The quartz movements inside most Fossil branded watches cost the company somewhere between $3 and $8 in bulk. The watch retails for anywhere from $80 to $250. That is a markup structure that would make a luxury brand blush, delivered without the pretense of craftsmanship to justify it. The cases are zinc alloy in many models, not stainless steel, which means the brushed metallic finish you are admiring starts to show its limitations within 18 months of daily wear. The leather on the strap is often bonded rather than genuine. The crystals are mineral at best, and the movements, when they do fail, are typically replaced rather than serviced because the economics of repair do not work at this price tier. The only honest thing Fossil has ever done is price itself below the threshold where buyers expect longevity. But the problem is that millions of people do not realize they cross that threshold the moment they put it on. Number 9 is a name that earned a crazy reputation decades ago during the space race, and the name is Bulova. Bulova was once genuinely remarkable. My grandfather wore it, and to be honest, for a sentimental reason, I do to wear that watch from time to time. In 1960, they supplied NASA with watches for the space program. In 1971, their tuning fork Accutron movement was a legitimate engineering achievement, accurate to within 2 seconds per day at a time when that was extraordinary. That legacy is now the product. The modern Bulova catalog leans into the Accutron name, the space heritage, and charges accordingly. Entry models with basic quartz movements retail between $150 and $300, while the movement inside costs the brand under $10 to source. The Precisionist line, Bulova's flagship, does deliver a genuine high-frequency quartz caliber that achieves plus or minus 15 seconds per year accuracy, which is legitimately impressive. But the rest of the range does not come close to matching that standard, and the pricing does not clearly distinguish between the two. Most standard Bulova models depreciate immediately and hold almost no resale value. The space mission happened. The tuning fork was real. But if I'm honest, and this is a hot take, I know, the watch on the shelf today is mostly borrowing credibility from engineers who retired before the buyer was born. Number 8 on this list is a brand that does something particularly clever. It charges luxury adjacent prices while maintaining the operational structure of a fashion label. Michael Kors watches retail between $150 and $400. The cases are often stainless steel, which sounds encouraging until you learn the grade is typically lower than what watchmakers consider standard for a daily wear piece. The movements are almost universally outsourced quartz calibers with no distinguishing specification. The brand's value proposition is entirely aesthetic and entirely borrowed from its parent, Capri Holdings, a fashion conglomerate that also owns Versace and Jimmy Choo. What you are purchasing when you buy a Michael Kors watch is access to a fashion ecosystem. The dial might carry a logo that appears alongside runway, collections, and celebrity campaigns. The strap might coordinate with a handbag from the same seasonal line. These are not irrelevant considerations if fashion coherence is what you are buying. But the watch itself, as a mechanical or even electronic timekeeping object, delivers nothing that a $30 Casio does not deliver with greater reliability. The depreciation is instant and steep. Secondary market prices for Michael Kors watches typically settle at 15 to 25% of retail within months of purchase. That is not a watch losing value. That is the market correctly identifying what was inside the box the whole time. In number 7, we have Movado, specifically the museum line, one of the most studied pieces of design marketing in the 20th century. Raymond Loewy and Nathan George Horwitz created a dial so architecturally confident, so stripped of everything unnecessary that in 1960 it entered the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art. The problem is that Movado has been living off that fact ever since. The movement inside a museum watch today is a basic quartz caliber that costs Movado under $12 to source. Entry models retail at around $200. The steel chronograph variants push past $1,500 with the same category of internals underneath a more complicated dial. Movado's own financial disclosures show gross margins of approximately 62%, meaning that before a single dollar of advertising spend, more than half of everything you pay is pure margin. The brand historically allocated between $25 and $30 million annually to marketing, which means the gap between what you pay and what you get is not being filled by engineering. It is being filled by the idea of the dot, and the dot is genuinely beautiful. The single gold sphere at 12 o'clock positioned like the sun at noon is an elegant concept executed with real restraint. But elegance of concept is not the same as quality of execution. And at Movado's price points, you are paying for the former while receiving the latter. The museum watch belongs in MoMA. Whether it belongs on your wrist at that price is a different question entirely. And that brings us to number 6, Rado. Alright, I think this watch is great. I do wear this one as well, but let's break it down. Rado has spent years positioning itself as a material innovation brand, the company that brought high-tech ceramic and scratch-resistant sapphire into mainstream watchmaking before most of the industry caught up. That story is partly true and wholly exploited. The Centrix and True lines, entry points for the brand, retail between $500 and $1,200 and contain swatch group supplied movements that cost Rado a fraction of what they charge you for the finished piece. The ceramic cases are genuinely hard and genuinely scratch resistant, but ceramic is brittle in a way that stainless steel is not. Drop a ceramic Rado on tile and the outcome can be pretty bad. The Diamaster line pushes further into pricing that approaches 5 figures for movements that belong in watches at $2,000 or less. Rado is not robbing you the way Invicta robs you. The materials are real. The craftsmanship is genuine. But the gap between what the movement justifies and what the brand charges is consistently padded by material marketing rather than horological substance. You are paying for the case more than the caliber, and that is a trade-off Rado never quite makes transparent enough. Now, the conversation changes entirely. From here, we are counting up through the 5 brands that are actually delivering in terms of its usage value. Plus, they are pricing honestly, engineering seriously, and giving you something worth defending to anyone who asks, oh, what's that watch? Number 5 on the value side of this list is a brand that most people in the watch community will nod at knowingly and most people outside of it have never heard of. Nomos Glasshutte is the most compelling argument for German watchmaking at an accessible price point that currently exists. Based in Glasshutte, a town in Saxony with a watchmaking tradition stretching back to the 19th century, Nomos does something that almost no brand at its price tier bothers to attempt. It designs and manufactures its own movements in-house entirely, from the escape wheel to the regulating organ, the Alpha manual wind caliber, and the DW5600 automatic are not sourced from ETA or Sellita. They were designed by Nomos engineers, decorated by Nomos craftspeople, and assembled in Glasshutte under the legal and quality requirements that entitle the finished piece to carry the Glasshutte made designation, which demands that at least 50% of manufacturing value be produced in that specific town. The result is a movement of quality and high finishing standard. Entry pieces come in between $1,300 and $1,700. The cost to retail ratio sits at roughly 2 to 2.5 times, meaning the vast majority of what you pay is actually in the watch. There are no Formula One sponsorships. There are no celebrity wrists hired to wear it. There is a factory in Saxony where people who have spent their careers learning a precise skill show up and build something worth owning. If you have not investigated Nomos, start now. The watch community already has. Number 4 is the brand that rewrote the expectations for what a Swiss automatic could deliver under $1,000 and then never stopped improving. Tissot has been Swiss since 1853 and Swatch Group owned since 1983, and that corporate parentage gives it access to movement architecture and supplier relationships that independent brands at this price point can only envy. Personally, I wear this one as a day-to-day, sit-at-home kind of usage. The PRX Powermatic 80 is the clearest expression of what Tissot is capable of when it decides to simply focus on giving the buyer more than they expect. The Powermatic 80 movement inside produces 80 hours of power reserve, set it down on Friday evening, and pick it up on Monday morning, and it is still running accurately without intervention. That is more than twice the reserve of most Swiss automatics in this tier, and it is achieved through a low beat architecture that actually improves longevity by reducing the stress on the movement components. The integrated bracelet is finished with a sharpness of line and a seamlessness at the case junction that you would expect from watches at 4 times the price. For $600 to $800, you are getting Swiss engineering with a genuine specification advantage over most of what shares its price bracket. That is not a compromise. That is a choice. Number 3 is the brand whose name carries the weight of a specific moment in human history, which makes what it delivers for the price all the more remarkable. Hamilton has been keeping military time since the First World War, and the Khaki Field Mechanical is a distillation of everything that heritage actually means when you put it in a case and strap it to a wrist. The H50 caliber inside is a modern manual wind movement built on the architecture of the ETA 2801, one of the most proven calibers in Swiss watchmaking history. The bead-blasted case does not catch light in a way that draws attention to itself. It absorbs it. The legibility is absolute because legibility was never a design choice here. It was an operational requirement from the day this category of watch was conceived. Retail lands between $495 and $650. Hamilton backs it with a 5-year warranty, which at this price tier is a statement of confidence you do not see from brands charging twice as much. Shock resistance is documented up to 5G. The sapphire crystal handles daily contact without ceremony. The Khaki Field Mechanical does not need to sell you anything. The case for it is already written in steel. Number 2 is where the watch community's best kept secret starts to become genuinely impossible to keep. Grand Seiko is the answer to a question that most watch buyers do not know to ask. The Zaratsu polishing technique applied to Grand Seiko cases is done by hand, by artisans who spend years learning a single skill. The process creates flat surfaces so geometrically precise, so free of distortion, that they function almost as mirrors. No machine produces this outcome. The machines cannot hold the tolerances. A person does it slowly, with a trained eye and a polishing medium and a standard that gets rejected if it is not right. The movements, particularly the spring drive caliber, are a category of their own. The spring drive uses a conventional mainspring to generate power, but replaces the traditional escapement with a tri-synchro regulator that uses electromagnetic braking to achieve an accuracy of plus or minus 1 second per day. That is not marketing language. That is a specification that most chronometer certified Swiss movements do not reach. The dials in the Seasons collection are made from natural materials sourced from specific regions of Japan, expressing the specific palette of a specific season in a specific part of the world. Between $2,000 and $6,000, Grand Seiko delivers finishing, movement technology, and fantastic dial crafting. And at number 1, the brand that wins this entire conversation without breaking a sweat, without changing its core product in any meaningful way since 1983. The Casio G-Shock, and specifically the DW5600, is the single greatest value proposition in the history of the watch industry. I know you're thinking, why in the world is Casio at the top of this list? Remember what I told you at the start? It's the efficiency and the value for its usage that matters at the end of the day. The shock-resistant module inside this watch sits within a resin housing engineered to absorb and redirect impact energy rather than transmit it to the movement. The official water resistance is 200 meters. Documented real-world accounts include submersion well beyond that rating, full cycles through washing machines, drops from heights that would destroy any mechanical movement ever made, and operation in temperature ranges that render most lubricants ineffective. The quartz caliber inside keeps time to within 15 seconds per month. The battery lasts a decade. When it eventually exhausts itself, the replacement costs less than a coffee. The retail price is between $45 and $55. Get this, military units, search and rescue teams, and field professionals in every environment. Humans have found a reason to operate in, have trusted this watch because it has been tested in those environments, not staged for a photo shoot. The design has been essentially unchanged since 1983 because there has been no engineering reason to change it. A product that does its job completely does not need revision. It commands respect and delivers a robust product. The G-Shock DW5600 is a solid piece and is at the top of the list for this particular review, not because it is the most beautiful watch, not because it carries the most impressive movement, but because no other watch on earth gives you more reliable performance per dollar spent. Alright, so across all 10 brands, the pattern is the same. There is the money that goes into the watch, and there is the money that goes into convincing you the watch is worth buying. The brands that are taking from you have inverted that ratio so completely that the watch is almost a secondary consideration. The brands that are worth the value and purpose, and your money of course, have never stopped treating the object itself as the point. Your wrist deserves honesty, and guys, I really hope you learned something today. The watch you wear every day should earn its place there through what it is, not what is on the advertisements, and that's what my mentor says. Let us know in the comments where you land and what your next purchase is going to be. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel to stay tuned with all the latest information you need before getting that next watch. Let me know what watches and topic you would like to know about next. For now, take care everyone. From the one and only, your Swiss timekeeper.